Well, I'm very happy to be speaking with Ben Dietz here at the Saturnalia Château here in Cannes, where we're ceremonially drinking rosé.
Un peu de immunity.
Mon Dieu. Um, and Ben is going to be sharing. Ben is the founder of Breakfast Club, which is now has offshoots in Boston. Our dear friend Scott Donaldson in LA.
40 cities around the world.
I was going to list them all, but whatever.
It would take you a long time, and you'd probably forget about like the Cambridge offshoot of the Boston.
I would have
family, for instance.
It's true. It's true. So Ben is going to be sharing. Ben is a guy who has had quite a remarkable career in marketing and in culture, and is doing some very interesting things right now that give a very unique point of view about the holistic way in which marketing can add value throughout an organization.
Well,
So
should work.
Take it from there.
Okay, fine. I think it's the way I would describe it more so is like the modern media landscape communications ecosystem demands that brands and individuals, whomever is communicating, think in terms of what I call superformats, which is kernels of IP that they can then version across all of the available platforms that make sense to their audience without over-versioning and taking on the strategy that sometimes is called COPE, right? Create once, produce everywhere, which encourages overproduction, waste, nonsense, and then also spawns metrics that discourage the strategy in the first place.
So
it's about calling your shots and taking them.
So when you were telling me about this very briefly, and I was like, Ben, get on up into come on up here. We're going to jump and turn on the camera. Yeah. Who owns this, right? Because when you describe it to me, this is a thing which, from what I understand, gives life to an idea, right? A moment of creativity.
That's right.
You know, historically in the marketing team would lead to a breakthrough campaign, right? And I think in your version, Superformats.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All good.
I was like, Super Bites?
Super Bites, not
Superformats.
Superformats.
Is something which, has a life beyond perhaps just the marketing department. So I guess I'd be curious, who owns in a large organization, executive sponsorship, et cetera? How does this thing move through an organization?
That's an interesting question, Scott. I mean, I think that the idea is less to think of it in terms of who owns it from a siloed perspective and more to think of it as how do you work an idea that creates value at every touch point for everybody? So I talk a lot about the idea that a consumer-facing company needs to create value for its consumers, but it probably in doing so is creating hidden value that it could also turn into B2B approach, right? And then it also can use that as a means to drive loyalty and just engender good feeling with employees as a B2E type of thing. So for instance, if we were to create a fragrance for Mountain Dew, which is a project that I just worked on recently.
Okay.
So we are creating a earned media vehicle. We are creating a physical product. We are creating a new product category exploration through a kind of an R&D approach, and we're creating a direct-to-consumer proof of concept for shopping in a business that is mostly sold to distributors, not to consumers directly. So in that way, it's solving a bunch of different needs for those different silos, and that came out of the marketing department, but it could as well have come out of the R&D team. It could as well have come out of the communications team. So it's just more a matter of kind of going like, where does the idea germinate best? And then how do we apply it across all of the other silos?
All right, last question. Are you finding right now that there is, in fact, everyone loves a big idea? How can how can it become, add value? How can it go from a cost center to a profit center?
Yeah, for sure.
Et cetera, et cetera. Is there an actual appetite for this kind of work? I mean, you just mentioned Mountain Dew. Are you finding that this is something which brands are becoming bolder given some of the disruption happening around them?
Not only that, I think brands generally speaking, and this is true of brands of all stripes and sizes, are finding that if they don't leverage equity from other partners, in other words, the credibility, the authenticity, the reason to be home within a space that they can expand into, that they will struggle to do that, right? If Mountain Dew had just said, we're just going to make a fragrance, that would have been probably easy to discredit. If they say we're making it with Blind Barber, which is a proven men's proving brand that has distribution in Ulta and in Sephora and in Target and in all of these other channels, then people take it seriously, right? And then when you make the juice actually great, which of course is the key thing you have to do, then it works and sells itself.
When you put juice in the juice, you can sort of make it
Listen,
happen.
the number of industries that use juice as the euphemism for their product is much larger than I would have thought.
That is a follow-up conversation, and we will,
It's the super format juice. That is what we're going for.
Great. Ben Dietz, thank you for stopping by the Saturnalia Château.
My great pleasure. It's such an honor to be a part of the community, and I'm very pleased to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, bud.